Picture a wedding in Delhi in 1951. The groom's family is beaming, the guests are gossiping, and a mother turns to her 19-year-old daughter and says, quite simply, "You too will marry a boy I choose." The daughter's name is Lata. The mother's name is Mrs. Rupa Mehra, and that one sentence sets an entire world in motion. Mrs. Rupa Mehra has already buried one husband and married off one son, and she is not about to leave her remaining daughter's future to chance, or worse, to love. India itself is only 4 years past independence, still stitching together a new government, a new parliament, a new sense of who belongs where. Old feudal estates are being dismantled by law. Communities that survived partition's violence are still learning to trust their neighbors again. Against this backdrop, one mother's hunt for a son-in-law becomes something bigger than it has any right to be.
Lata is clever, restless, a university student who finds the whole business faintly ridiculous until she falls for a fellow student named Kabir. He's witty, devoted, utterly smitten with her. There's just one problem. He's Muslim, and she's Hindu, and in a country still raw from the bloodshed of partition, that difference is not a detail anyone in her family is willing to overlook. Mrs. Rupa Mehra discovers the romance and ends it swiftly, dragging Lata away to Calcutta to stay with family friends, and not so coincidentally, to meet other prospects.
In Calcutta, Lata meets Amit, a poet from a wealthy, endlessly clever family who spend their dinners trading puns faster than anyone can keep score. He's sophisticated, a little removed from ordinary life, more at home inside a stanza than inside a real conversation. He's charmed by Lata. She's charmed by him too, in a distant sort of way. The way you're charmed by someone you suspect you'd never actually build a life with. And then there's Haresh. No poetry, no scandal, no secret trysts. Just a shoe manufacturer, sturdy and blunt, who talks about leather tanning at their very first meeting and means every word of it as a compliment to his own seriousness. He is not what anyone would call swept off her feet material. He is, however, steady, in a way neither of the other two men are. And as Lata's story unfolds across parties, exams, and family obligations, she is left holding these three men up against each other, trying to work out which kind of life she actually wants. Passionate, brilliant, or simply reliably good. While Lata weighs her options, a second story unfolds a few rooms away. Maan, the charming, aimless son of a government minister, falls headlong for a courtesan named Saeedabai, a singer, older than him, magnetic, entirely unsuitable by every measure his family holds dear. Their affair is intoxicating and doomed from the start. His father is furious. His prospects crumble. And buried inside Saeedabai's household is a secret about parentage that, when it finally surfaces, turns Maan's romance from scandal into something closer to devastation, tangled up with the fate of his closest friend, a Muslim lawyer named Feroz, whose family's own fortunes are being upended by a new law abolishing the old feudal estates. That law is not just backdrop. It's argued out, clause by clause, in a parliament full of men who genuinely believe they're deciding the shape of the country's future. And, in a strange way, they are. Landowning families who've held power for generations watch it dissolve in real time, replaced by something more democratic and considerably messier. Meanwhile, out in the towns and villages, a religious festival curdles into violence, a reminder that the wounds of partition are nowhere near healed, and that the peace between communities is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Through all of it, Mrs. Rupa Mehra keeps circling back to her project. She frets over money, over reputation, over her children's futures, in that particular way mothers do when they've decided that love and control are the same thing. She is vain and sentimental and endlessly worried, and utterly devoted to Lata in a way that occasionally suffocates her. But by the end, even she has to sit back and let her daughter make up her own mind. And Lata does. Not Kabir, the boy she loved first and lost to circumstance. Not Amit, the poet who could have given her wit and elegance and a life half lived in his own head. She chooses Haresh, practical, unglamorous, devoted, the shoe manufacturer with dirt-stained hands and a plan for every contingency. It's not the romantic choice. It might be the wise one. A young woman standing at the edge of a new country, still working out its own rules, decides that steadiness is worth more than fireworks. And that's really the whole shape of it. A mother hunting for a husband, a daughter resisting her, 3 men offering 3 different futures, a doomed love affair unraveling in a courtesan's house, a law dismantling centuries of feudal power, and a nation, barely out of its cradle, trying to decide who it wants to become. All happening at once, over one very long, very eventful year.